Are you trying to level up in Rank 2.0, but struggling to win your rank games? Well, there's a good chance you might not be using the most effective operators. Hey guys, former professional player and major winning coach here, and today I'm going to be covering the best operators to play in ranked for solo queue, duo queue, so you guys can carry your way to victory. Before we start talking about operators though, I want to first talk about the meta at the highest of levels, because although you maybe are not a champion or a pro player yourself, there are things that we can learn are working at the highest level, and we can translate it into your own gameplay at whatever rank we are. The meta is ever shifting due to patch notes, which buff certain things and nerf others, and is a main reason why Rainbow Six is so enjoyable. It's constantly evolving. Currently, we're entering into a DMR meta, as they are borderline overpowered at professional play, especially the 417, which is available on Twitch, Lion, Sense, and Rora, giving the attackers 4 different viable operators to choose from. We'll constantly see professional lineups seeing 2 or more of these operators at a time, just because the weapon is that good. And now with Operation Tenfold, a new DMR was released, the PMR. And although maybe the stats don't show it, it is a monster weapon with 21 bullets, no recoil, and shoots super fast, deleting enemies before they even have a chance to fight back. This weapon is on 4 more operators, including Capital, Thatcher, Knock, and Habana, giving the attack even more ways to get a DMR into the lineup. Of course, on defense, we can fight back with Aruni and Tubarao, and the fact that they have a DMR and are one of the few options with an ACOG on defense makes them great picks alone. Besides DMRs, we also know that we're in a bit of a shield meta as well, and I'm sure you guys see them in almost every single game you play at this point. But at least Ubisoft is listening to our complaints, and they did revert the limb damage change back, so we can rejoice, shoot the pesky Blackbeards and Blitzes in the feet, and we watch them fall over. Nonetheless, they're still highly played and something we should be thinking about when we're selecting operators for this list. And last but not least, I have to talk about the trap meta. Again, maybe we don't see it as much in your games at the moment, but traps are so good at the highest levels because we don't want attackers able to just walk wherever they want into sight. Pro coaches use blueprints, and they make sure that every single gap is filled with some sort of utility, whether it be a trap operator like Fenrir or Melusi, or even barbed wire and prox alarms, just so at least there's some warning about where the enemy is, and that helps for tracking. This makes the game so much easier to play when you can predict where they are and have the utility to play off of, because how many rounds do you play where there's just an Ash running into sight, catching you off guard, and you yell, "He's in the sight!" All right, so now that we have defined what the meta is, I also just want to say that this list is of my own opinion, although with the help of my Twitch chat, so shout out to everyone that was giving their opinions there, and that it's also tailored towards solo and duo queue, where we don't have the most competent teammates and we can't rely on anyone to set up the site. We kind of need to do it all. With all of that out of the way, let's start with my top 5 defenders. So I am going to start with an honorable mention here, which is going to be Tubarao. Remember the DMR meta? Well, he's got one of those on defense, which allows you to have an ACOG and fight back against the attackers. His freezes pair extremely well with Cade, if you have a duo, and will ensure walls will stay shut, which guarantees wins. His freezes have other uses too, like being tracked by Deimos, freeze the ground underneath yourself and stop the tracks. Being pushed with shields, freeze the door and go prone and rip apart their legs with your broken DMR. You also have a C4, which is a nice addition for some free kills and solid anchor play. Now the reason he doesn't make the list is he's unable to do any of the sight setup, as he doesn't have a secondary shotgun to make rotates with. This is something else that highly shapes the meta and something to factor in, because having to ask your teammates for rotates and then blatantly ignoring you when they go spawn peek something is the absolute worst. All right, let's start with number 5 on this list, which is going to be Smoke. Smoke has been a staple in the game since the very beginning, and there's really nothing wrong with this kit at all. He has the shotgun, which allows you to make a sight setup and rotates that you want. The SMG-11, which, once you figure out the recoil pattern, has one of the fastest fire rates in the game and goes toe-to-toe with any gun in the game. He has barbed wire, which allows you to play off audio and not get snuck up on, and then his utility is excellent at smoking off one lane and allowing you to focus on another. Picture Bank Blue Stairs, where if they're pushing dirt, you hear them breaking your barbed wire, you can smoke it, and then you can look at the top of your stairs. This buys you time and gives your team a chance to rotate and come help you. And if you want to play late rounds as well, you can be solely responsible for carrying your team to wins. using your toxic babes to deny plants. Coming in at number 4, and I have a soft spot for this one because this has been one of my favorite operators for a long time, Ella. Ella is fantastic in this meta because her gap coverage is excellent. She has 3 Grismot mines and 2 pieces of barbed wire, allowing her to deny 5 different lanes. Not to mention, in the shield meta we are in, her mines are actually the best counter. Once a shield is stunned, their whole body is exposed, and it gives you a good chance to get the solo kill. She doesn't have a secondary shotgun, but her impacts are enough to set up positions that you want to play with rotates and allow her to be extremely mobile, which is a huge plus in this meta. Not to mention, the Scorpion also has like 0 recoil in this patch, so if you haven't played Ella in a while, I highly recommend checking her out. At the number 3 spot, I have the queen of playing power positions, Azami. Azami literally almost makes every single power spot in the game just 10 times better. Playing Maison Chalet with another operator is viable, but with Azami, you're able to block off any angles that attackers might be holding cuts on, so you can fall back safely. And also, you can set up one-ways in different angles that they don't expect, so you can challenge them. From these different power spots alone, you can carry your rank games, and I highly recommend checking out my series on power spots if you haven't already to see what I mean. You also get impacts on a zombie just like Ella, so it still allows you to get the rotates you want and stay extremely mobile. The gun is fantastic, and you also get a deagle if you want to get up close and personal or make your own vert holes. All right, coming in at number 2 is going to be Melusi. On paper, Melusi has everything you could want in the current meta. 4 Banshees and a BP is insane gap coverage. And the best part is most people love playing Twitch over Brava and Flores, so your traps stay relatively safe unless you're putting them in troll positions. You have the secondary shotgun and all of your rotates and head holes that you could want, and the gun isn't that bad. It's kind of a headshot machine. Now, I know the downside is you're a 3 armor and you feel like your setup might be too long with this much utility, but you can't deny the insane potential this operator has to make the attack feel like they can't push anywhere without being stuck in a trap. There's a reason why Melusi was the highest win rate operator used by pro teams last stage. Okay, the number 1 defender on this list, you're probably expecting Mirror at this point, like every other operator guide, but that's not making my list. Instead, it's going to be Aruni. Why Aruni? Well, Aruni has everything that we defined as the meta currently. She has the best weapon on defense. That DMR will literally 2-tap anybody, and just landing a bullet onto somebody makes them 1 HP, which is insane value. She has 3 Aruni gates, plus 2 barbed wire, which again is excellent gap coverage, being able to lock down 5 different lanes. Her BP is also a good choice as well for when you're playing denial areas like Bank Garage or C1 on Cafe, and you can make rotates yourself and head holes, which means you're extremely self-reliant. And to be honest, I can't think of a single position in the game, besides maybe like Bank Blue Stairs, where I wouldn't take a Aruni. If you ever don't know what to pick, this is the safest option. It gives you everything you truly need to carry your games. All right, now with defense out of the way, let's start talking about attack. And before we get to the honorable mention, I just have to say that there are so many good attackers that this list was even harder to make than defense. So many considerations, but what I landed on was a list of 5 operators who I truly believe you can play solo or duo and be totally self-reliant, which I think is extremely important. There's a ton of other operators who I think are fantastic picks as well, but definitely require a little bit more team play, which the majority of us don't have the luxury of. With that out of the way, let's talk about my honorable mention, Dokkabei. Information is huge in this game, and let's be honest, most of us don't have the patience to be great droners or have teammates that are good droners, so that's what we have Doke for. It's a fantastic operator to take advantage of the gaps the defense are leaving us, pop a phone call, you walk into the site. Or, when you know there's a solo roamer above, you can call as your teammates collapse. The fact that it's a global operator promotes fantastic team play with the simple press of a button and gives you a huge advantage in those games where you're lacking comms. Not to mention, she has a DMR and the SMG-12, which is like a cheat code on its own, and I can rant on this for hours about how it should be nerfed. A nice little bonus is that when you kill the solo roamer, you can hack cams and you get access to vision on the site, which allows for tracking the rest of the enemy players. The only con, and the reason I don't have her in my top 5, is that she's easily countered by traps, having no way to remove them herself except for EMPs, which a lot of times you're going to take flashbangs because they're better to take, and those gaps might be less and less the higher ranks you climb because they're going to be filled with traps or barbed wire. Okay, so let's start talking about who made my list. At number 5, I have Gridlock. Gridlock has one of the best kits of any attacker currently in the pool. You have nades for traps and barbed wire, or clearing positions and shields. You have secondary shotgun for opening hatches and soft walls. You have one of the most underrated guns, but a good one, in the F90. You also don't have to worry about flanks and teammates being on cams because you could just use your tracks for that. And not to mention, you can solo clear power spots if you wish by using your tracks to burn ADSs and Wamai discs before you nade that shield, making her extremely self-reliant, which again is highly valuable for this list. All right, so at number 4, I have Twitch. Twitch had to make my list because I'm telling you guys how good DMRs are, and for me to not have a 417 on this list, I would be a fraud. The 417 is the best gun on attack, and whenever I'm personally struggling in the gunfight department, I just switch to one of these and voila, I'm back, baby. You have 4 drones on Twitch, 2 shock drones, 2 normal drones, so you're able to get a ton of information and are able to clear a majority of the meta traps in the game. Goyos, Fenrirs, Ellas, Denaris, BPs, Proxes, all gone, which creates huge opportunities for you and your team. And another bonus is with how much Azami's played, the DMR makes her practically useless, and you get to get rid of her Kibas in just a few shots. Azami and Piano causing problems on Cafe will just repel on the ticket window like the pros do, and get rid of them in seconds. Coming in at number 3, and this one moved up my list because of Twitch chat. They convinced me, but it's going to be Striker. Striker is the most versatile attacker and hard to ignore on a list like this that is catered to playing more solo and doing everything yourself. Bring hard breach charges and EMPs and open up the walls yourself for ghost pressure. Heck, ban Cade and Bandit and hard breach charges become even more valuable now that Mute can't stop them. Bring nades and flashes, and you can destroy traps or barbed wire and flash before you engage somebody, and you really start to see that Striker is the jack of all trades. There's nothing he can't do. Plus, the M4 is fantastic, and that weapon absolutely shreds defenders, and you could pair it with the secondary shotgun for hatches and soft walls. This is an extremely safe pick. At the number 2 spot, I had to with this one, it's going to be Ace. A lot of guides are going to put Ace at number 1, but with how often it is banned in ranked, and I mean it's banned first every single time, I had to move it down a spot. Now, Ace is banned for a reason. It is the easiest hard breach to play because it's ranged and safe from a mirror on outside walls, and it creates a big enough breach on the wall to vault in. It counters Cade claws on hatches, since you can throw 2 ace charges around the hatch and you can ignore the claw. Not to mention, it's also not countered by Mute anymore. So if Cade and Bandit are banned and somehow Ace isn't banned, you have absolute free will to create as much chaos as possible on the map, opening everything. Pair this with the fact that he has the AK-12, which is absolutely broken on attack, and he now has flashbangs, makes him even better entering once walls get open. I did take off points for the fact that he lost soft breaches, as that was a nice perk for once your walls were open, you could go play top-down vert and really do it all. All right, time for my number 1 solo duo queue played attacker, who recently became even stronger with the nerf to Mute, who only counters gadgets that you have to push a button for, and that is none other than Mr. Grimm himself. What can't you do with Grimm, and what site would Grimm not be good for? Because I can't think of a single one. He has 5 Grimbees, which give you live pings on anyone who touches one, giving you good information and the ability to pre-fire your enemies and get free kills. Think admin on Consulate. Completely by yourself, you can Grimbee and swing and take the space. Same for clearing Mez on Chalet. Play library double window. Grimbee, Mez, jump in, pre-fire, collect your kill. You can hold the flank with it, or you could use it to cover an area while you focus on something else, similar to smoke. It's also fantastic execute utility, where you can Grimby all of Red Hall so they can't swing and C4 your plant because they are scared of being pinged and shot through the wall. And the only counter to any of this is Vigil, meaning only one operator is safe as opposed to standing on mute jammers before. And you could just ban Vigil. He has a bailiff for hatches and soft walls, hard breaches for reinforced hatches and walls, or you could take EMPs and help your breachers out, or disable traps before you push. He's extremely self-reliant, the king of utility on attack, and the best operator, in my opinion, to bring for every single round. Now that my list is over, I'm sure some of you are surprised that I didn't include a single shield on my list. After all, I am the Shield Lord. But that is because, in my opinion, shields are not that great for solo play. And yeah, maybe you can run in and get 1 or 2 every once in a while, but that's not going to contribute to wins. Also, with the limb damage change and the fact that there are a ton of shield counters that the defense can bring and no real way for you to destroy them yourself, you're very reliant on your teammates playing around you. So I couldn't, in good conscience, recommend them because it's going to be frustrating. Deimos is another one that is absolutely S tier in champion rank in Pro League, but I believe he's not a great solo operator. Doke is better in that department. Yes, the information he gets is insane, and you can isolate enemies, but I can't in good conscience recommend that pistol to gold players or going underneath the site and trying to kill people with that thing because, again, it's going to be frustrating. That's going to be it for the video, guys. If you liked it and these operators are helping you win your ranked games, then please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. And if you think I missed one, then tell me in the comments below why. I appreciate you guys all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one, unless you're stuck in gold.